All right, I'm here today with President of the Illinois 8U Tackle Football and Cheerleading, Mike Berry again. We are in the conference championship round of the playoffs now. Mike's nice enough to come on and give us some information. I know we do have, there's also the cheer competition coming up, which is right by me at the South Ridge campus, I believe, of Nook High School. So I'll go ahead and let Mike take over.
Hey Dan, thanks for having me again. I appreciate it. Let's start off with the cheer competition. The cheer competition will be this Sunday at Manuka. Um, it's going to be a great event. I know that their girls have been prepping all season. Girls and boys have been prepping all season for this. It's their Super Bowl. So what I'd like to see and I hope to see is all they were out there in the rain and all the cold and everything else cheering for all the football teams, all the football players. Come out and support them. I mean, it's huge for them. It's a big event. It's a great event. It's noisy, but it's a fun event. Couple changes that we did do this season. I know there was a lot of questions or comments about how we were doing it. Is we did decide to charge a $5 admission fee for adults. That's for adults. Seniors are free. Um, Children are free to get in the door. And the reason why we did the $5 the $5 entrance fee is very simply is last year financially, that cheer competition cost us a lot of money. With the facility, with they're going to be streaming it live. The videographer, the photographer, the judges, everything's gone up in price. And as a league, we are a non-for-profit organization. We don't have a bunch. I mean, everything that we raise, we spend. And last year, competition cost us a lot more money than we were budgeting for. So the $5 is to offset the cost of running the competition. It's not to make any money. It's not to that reason whatsoever. It's to help, like I said, once again, offset the cost of everything that goes on. It's not cheap to put on an event like that. I mean, if people says it's easy, it's not. It's the amount of money that it costs. Like it was last year, I was kind of floored by it because I really didn't know the cost. I mean, when we do everything, it's also going to be streamed live on YouTube, I believe. Costs money. So, um, with that being said, $5 I think it's fair. You go to any baseball tournament, you go to any wrestling tournament, you go to a basketball game at the high school, it's $5 to get in the door. So I mean, I think it's fair, and all it's going to do is help just offset the cost. Um, like I said, the girls have worked hard, the boys have worked hard. There's some great competition there. There's some great routines. I mean, those people put in a lot of time, um, and this is their Super Bowl. So if you could please come out and support them, it's great. Hosting it at Manuka, I think the facility is going to be awesome. They got plenty of room there. They're going to have parking there. It's going to be a good day. Um, Excuse me, we pushed it back a couple weeks because of the date. Normally we do have it like the first Sunday of playoffs, but it just didn't work out that way. So we pushed it back to this date. I think it's going to be awesome weekend for the I8 for the league because we're going to have conference championships on Saturday in Mantino, and then Sunday we're going to have a cheer competition in Manuka. Very exciting. I've been to several of them. It is a good time. It's an exciting event, and it's also awesome to see all the smiles on all the kids' faces after the routines and all the hard work and energy and effort they put into it. So I hope and I look forward to seeing a lot of the people come out and enjoy it and cheer on the girls or the boys and the squads and the teams because they put a lot of time and energy and effort. One thing before we go into the playoffs, I just want to be clear with everybody is our coaches on all our teams and our team moms and our staffs, we're all volunteers. Nobody's getting paid here. And the last couple of weeks of the playoffs have been, how do I put it, very taxing on a lot of people, most definitely me, because of the things that I've heard, the things that I've saw, witnessed. I mean, we're here for the kids. That is our number one goal. Our number one goal as coaches, as a program, as a league, is to play safe football, to encourage our boys and girls to continue playing the sport, to love the sport. to move on to the next level. Our goal as coaches, our goal as programs is to move them on to the next level, to high school. If they go to college, if they go to the pros, hey, that's great. We have never had any player in the 13 years I've been doing this make it to the NFL. So you can see the percentages of kids that go through it. The one thing I do want to state is that, everyone's volunteering. Nobody gets paid to do this. So I think that we all have to realize why we're here is for the kids. And I know that our coaches are there for that. And sometimes the coaches are a little bit intense and so on and so forth. But it's football, and the thing is with our sport that's different than a baseball or a basketball or something like that. If your son or daughter who's playing is not doing the correct or knowing what's going on, there's a big injury factor there.
Mhm.
There's definitely an injury factor. They could get blocked, they could get hit, something could happen, and we don't want that to happen. And with that being said, is that we're doing the best we can do. I mean, I know every parent thinks that, they're Vince Lombardi and they're coaching the Bears out there. That's not the case. It's truly not the case. And I mean, I don't mean to be, rude or ignorant about it, but I just witness things, and it's just not what our league is all about. And our coaches, they're intense people. They do a good job. Sometimes and I have meetings with them every year, and I tell them three simple things. A, nobody's getting paid to do this. B, we're not winning a Super Bowl trophy for the NFL. And C is my greatest gift or my greatest thing of coaching all the years that I coached is watching men and women that I coach that are now grown adults. And some of them have kids of their own. Some of them coach for me now. I mean, I got a guy that he played for me years ago, and he came back and he coached my super light level. He's a 24-year-old kid, great guy. They just had a baby. I mean, he's starting his family. That's what gives me the best success in my life. It's not about winning Super Bowls. It's not about having undefeated teams or whatever it is. It's about, at the end of the day, what are we doing? How do we feel that our life has been changed, or how can we make it better? And I just think that if we take a step back and we realize that we're dealing with 6-year-olds to 13-year-olds and 14-year-olds, it takes a lot. And I know you know that as a coach, Dan. I know that a lot of my coach knows that. I mean, there's two things you can't teach anybody in this world is heart and drive. You could have the best physically dominant athlete that's out there. You cannot teach heart, or you cannot teach drive. And it's difficult to hear the things and witness the things that I see at youth football events. It's starting to get to the point where, you know what, at the end of the day, it's not, why are we here? And the reason why I formed this league with the group of people that I did is that this isn't a Pop Warner league. This isn't a competitive travel league. This is a rec league, and we have standards and we have guidelines for not only our coaches, for our players, and for our parents. And I think sometimes that people put those standards to the side, and they have to realize why we're here. We're here for the best interest of not only my program of Mantino, your program of Reed Custer. We're out here for the best interest of the whole entire league. And it's difficult to see and witness the last couple of weeks about how people have, I mean, pretty much, I don't, and I'm a big boy. I don't really care if somebody has an opinion of me. That's the way I am. But don't badmouth the coaches. I mean, they're volunteers. The referees, I mean, and I said this 3 times to 3 people at the last weekend's playoffs. And I said to them very clear as day, you find me a 14-team league with enough officials to officiate a game that do everything 100% correct, because the fans all know that the referees are doing something incorrect. They're going to make mistakes. They're going to make them. It's what happens. You watch an NFL game, they're going to make mistakes. They're going to make mistakes at a youth level. But it doesn't do it any better by screaming at them, yelling at them. It just doesn't help the situation. And with our coaches, I mean, we have a great group of coaches. Some of them are a little bit more intense than others. I mean, like I said, going back to it, when I'm out there coaching, that's a great time. That's the best time that I have. I mean, running a league of this stature is It's a lot. It's a lot on a person. And not everything is going to go everyone's way. So I just want everybody to say, listen, why are we here? This weekend at the conference championships, listen, there's going to be some awesome football played there. I mean, you got some teams that you're going to see if you had a program and you got these kids' names, if you want to see what the top talent of football is going to be like for the next 10 years in the Tri-County area, you're going to see it out there on those fields this weekend. Those names of kids, you're going to hear those names of kids for the next 7, 8, 9 years. Okay. High school teams, they're going to be based off of 90% of my kids that are on those teams. That's how they get their start. That's how they learn the game. And hopefully by the high school level, they've mastered or they're doing better than the youth level to be productive with it. And that's what's awesome about it. You turn on, I watch teams from every county. I follow all the teams. I mean, even Catholic League teams. I mean, we have a lot of kids that go to Catholic League schools. I mean, you turn on a game, a Mount Carmel Providence game, or you turn on a St. Rita Mount Carmel game, and you look at a lot of those names. A lot of those kids are from our league. People don't understand that. I mean, and then you look at the football around our area. I mean, Reed Custer, Wilmington. There's powerhouse teams, and they're all built by kids that have played for us. And that's what is awesome. That's what I'm most excited about is watching that. Conference championships this weekend. Let's see. Start out with the Super Lights. Well, Dan, we got to start out with the Reed Custer Junior Comets. Okay?
Yes, you do.
We got to start out with the Reed Custer Junior Comets, okay? I'm not real happy right now, Dan. They took a little beating down to the Mantino Wildcats. They beat us pretty good. But let me tell you something. At the end of that game, I went to your coaches and I said, hey, I want to give you guys credit because what you've done as a coaching staff with these kids is phenomenal. What you guys done as a program is phenomenal. I don't mind getting beat. I don't mind getting beat. You guys are a good team. That was a good team. And I wish them nothing but the best of success. And for a program like Reed Custer, this is huge. I mean, I can't remember the last time that you guys have had a team in the conference championships or in the Super Bowl, probably since the group of boys you had last year. I mean, they were the last ones that made it to the Super Bowl.
Yeah, that's the last one.
Yeah, and I mean, I watched those boys, and I mean, that group of kids stayed together, and look what they did in high school. I mean, they were a powerhouse team.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, so I mean, game wise, I'm excited to see. I mean, you got Reed Custer, number 4 Reed Custer, playing Bradley. That's going to be a good game. Good game. I mean, I think that's going to be a hard fought game, just like the Mantino Reed Custer game was in the Wilmington Bradley game. There was no blowouts in that division. They were all tight, low scoring games. Tough I8 football is like I like to call it. Rhinestone football. The other side of the bracket, you got Chinook, number 1, and Coal City, number 2. That's going to be a battle. That's going to be a battle. I mean, these kids, 6, 7, 8 years old, you're going to see some good football, and you're going to see some good, well-coached teams. I'm excited about that bracket, that division. They're going to play. I got Reed Custer at Bradley playing at 10 o'clock, and then we got Chinook at Coal City playing at 11:30.
Mm-hmm.
In Mantino, there's going to be 2 fields set up. Fields will be right across within 200 yards of each other. There'll be a smaller field, an 80-yard field for the super lights and the lightweights. Our main game field will be for the JV and varsity players. So you can stand in the middle of the walking path and you can look 50 feet to one side and you can see 2 games of football going on at the same time.
That's awesome.
Lightweight division. Side of the bracket, the west side of the bracket, Morris Warriors, number 1 seed against number 2 Ottawa. They played tough in the regular season. Big game. Ottawa, I mean, Morris pulled it out. It's going to be a tough game, a real tough game. So excited to see who's going to win that game because on the other side of the division, we got Mantino versus Wilmington. What more could you ask for? I mean, I've been battling Wilmington for 13 years. I'm going to tell you one thing. Wilmington always comes out and they give you a powerhouse team. You're going to get a fight when you go into a Wilmington game. I know that. I told my boys that tonight in practice. I said, I don't care what the score was. I don't care what our record is. I'm going to tell you something. When we go out there on that field on Saturday, you're going to put up a fight. They're not just going to lay down for us, guys. and they're going to put up a fight. And at the end of the day, the best team's going to win. I'm excited for that game. I mean, it's been many years that it's been Wilmington, Mantino, in the conference championship, let's call it, or the late seed, third round of the playoffs. I mean, normally we see those guys in the Super Bowl. So I mean, I'm excited. There's nothing in any of these games that are being played. It's going to be some hard fought battles. You're not going to see blowout scores in this. You're going to see some good football. JV division. You got on the west side Chinook. You got Ottawa. Once again, they battled in the season. Chinook took that game. I believe Chinook won that game. It's gonna be a good game. It's gonna be a good game. On the other side of the bracket, you got Bradley versus Peatone. Peatone, once again, third seed. They took us down. I mean, in the regular season, we beat them 33-0. Come back in a playoff game, we lose the playoff game 26-15, I think it was. Anything could happen. And that's what I tell all my boys, is that I don't care what the score was in the regular season, playoffs matter, because it's win or you go home. And I told them, you want to continue playing football for another week, or you want to go home? And that's going to be a battle. That's going to be a good game. The varsity division, I mean, these are all eighth graders, seventh and eighth graders. These are kids you're going to see at the high school next year or the following year after that. And I guarantee a lot of these kids that are on these squads are going to be starting as sophomores in high school, because that's how talented of group of teams that we have on these levels. This is 100% going to be an exciting weekend for the varsity, because this is truly IHSA football. I mean, I hate to say it any differently, but you got some kids that should probably be playing in high school because of their size. On the left side of the bracket, the west side of the bracket, Ottawa Chinook, same thing. That was a battle that game. They're going to come back. Whoever lost that game is going to want revenge. I mean, it's going to be exciting. The other side of the bracket, you got Bradley and Mantino, varsity wise. Bradley has a good, strong team. Mantino, my town. I mean, they got their boys clicking on every level right now, offensive and defensively. I think it's going to be a battle, and that's why with the divisions that we did was you have the best teams like we started this year. Was years past was okay. Conference champion was you finish the season undefeated, you got a conference championship trophy. In my eyes, that really didn't mean anything. Okay, great. You had a good regular season. A lot of times you see a conference champion during a regular season losing the first round of the playoffs. So when we all sat down, and with the way that the teams came out and the amount of teams and the conferences, we said, this is a true conference championship. So at the end of the day, you'll know who's the top in the East Division, and you know who's the top in the West Division, and it'll be a true Super Bowl. And that's what I'm most excited about, is that you're going to have some teams that come out of nowhere, and they're going to be in a Super Bowl next Saturday, playing the sandwich for the Super Bowl trophy. It's huge. The atmosphere, the community support of all these towns coming together for these kids, it's phenomenal. It's awesome. I mean, they rally around the town. I mean, Reed Custer, I watched that game, when you guys were playing Mantino. I mean, the atmosphere there in that game was like a high school game. I mean, you couldn't tell me the difference of a high school game to what I witnessed on a little 80-yard field that was muddy as can be, wet as can be, sloppy as can be. You had kids out there playing their hearts out, and it was the support that they received was awesome. And that's what it's all about when it comes down to it. That takes all the bad things out of it, and now you realize why we're there. And that's what's exciting. We've had a great season. I mean, there's a couple bad things happen, but all in all, it's this great atmosphere, and I couldn't wish for anything better. I mean, I truly believe, and I hear more positives than negatives, and I'm not the person that reflects on the negatives. I mean, I look at the positives. I mean, anybody could say anything's negative, but you show me a better league, South by 80, with the competition that we have, set up with divisions, set up with the way that it's played, the way that our kids play, the way that we run the league, the way that our programs are ran. You can't tell me there's a better league. And if you do, showman is what I really want to say. Is and I heard it several times. This is a phenomenal league. You're doing a great job, Big Dirty. Everything. I mean, your league as a whole, your teams, everything, and I'm excited about that. Going forward, after we get done with all this fun stuff for the next 2 weeks, conference championships, the Super Bowl, which will be played in Sandwich at the high school, those games will start at 12 o'clock for the Super Lights, be a later start, 12 o'clock for Super Lights, around 2 o'clock for lightweights, 4 o'clock for JV, 6 o'clock for varsity. Be playing up underneath the lights at the high school. The crown Super Bowl champions. Then all our eighth graders who've been selected, we're going to go and we're going to take we're going to take players from all 14 towns, and we're going to build a Pro Bowl team, and we're going to build 2 Pro Bowl teams, and that we're going to take 14 teams, and we're going to have approximately 40 to 50 kids, maybe more, 60 to 70 kids. We're going to break them into 2 teams, and we're going to go out to Indiana on the week of November 11th and 12th, and we're going to play in a tournament style football league football tournament. We did this during the COVID year. It was an awesome experience. Awesome. Because you take the best of the best in our league, and we go against leagues and towns from all over. Bolingbrook, DeKalb, Indiana. They had a team from Michigan. And we go out there and we play football. And I think at that point, it awakens a lot of people's eyes. And you're going to see kids that are going to get an opportunity to play football in positions they've never played before, and they're going to be able to excel and have fun with a group of kids. But the best thing about the Pro Bowl is that within that 10 days or 14 days, you have the first day is always awesome. I love it at the Pro Bowl. You have all these kids, and they all stand next to each other because they're all teammates. And the first thing I say to them is I say, listen, I want you to go over to this team or this guy, shake his hand. And by the end of that practices before those games, those kids have built a bond or friendship. So what's awesome is you see them at a high school game, Reed Custer game, Wilmington game, Manuka game, St. Rita game, Cole City game, and they come up to you, hey, Coach Big Dirty, you remember back in the Pro Bowl when we played this? Or the Mantino kid remembers this kid from the Pro Bowl. That's what it's all about. And that's why this year we said, you know what, we're going to get away from our Pro Bowl, from our East versus the West. And let's go and try and beat up on some other teams. Let's go have some fun, and it's a commitment for the kids. But I think in Indiana, it's all turf fields. It's a beautiful complex there in Crown Point. And it's a good tournament. I think they're going to have, I want to say there's 8 teams. We're in the 13-14 division. I think there's 8 or 10 teams in there. So, I mean, you're guaranteed 2 games, up to 3 games. So I'm excited, and we're going to have a bunch of our coaches from all different towns come together as 1 or 2 teams, and we're going to build 2 teams in 10 days or 12 days and go out there to compete. And I'm excited, but we got to get through the conference playoffs first, conference championship, into the Super Bowl, because I'm going to tell you, I think that the next 2 weeks are going to be some fun times. I know that we're going to be having the Super Bowl streamed live on YouTube, that like we did last year. Same guy's going to be doing it, so I'll get the link to you or whatever you want to do, if you want to put it out on your page, whatever.
Yeah,
so people that can't be there, they could see the games live on YouTube. But all in all, I mean, it's a great way to end the season. I mean, Octobers are always they go by so fast because everything's going 100 miles an hour. Next thing you know, it's it's Thanksgiving time, it's Christmas time, and you're like, wow, where's football at? You know what I mean? But it's a long season, and to get through injuries and to get through setbacks and to get through dealing with 6 and 7 and 8-year-old kids and all their issues and everything else, and basketball and baseball and outdoor sports and choir and band and everything else. It's a long season, and it's a long season, but I also think that now is when you start to see teams really, really build momentum in the playoffs. You'll see teams like your Custer, you know what I mean? Our JV team against Mantino. I mean, Piatone, they came together and they gave us a fight and they ended up winning the game. You know what I mean? So the regular season, like I tell everybody, it don't mean nothing. You know what I mean?
No.
You're gonna see teams come out and they're gonna want to fight and they're gonna want to fight and they're gonna want to play hard and you're gonna see it. And that's where this weekend I think is really gonna be a cool event to see. You're gonna see some good hard nosed football for youth sports. And I don't know if it gets any better than that. So
No.
I
No,
really don't.
I really think this is going to be really exciting. Yeah, next with the cheer competition Sunday, I know that all the games are on Saturday. I wanted to verify that. She already verified that, so that's pretty cool. And then we were in Mantino, I think week 2. So you're going to have an 80-yard field and a 100-yard field, like your regular field for JV and varsity, like you said, right? And
The
then
setup will be very similar. The setup will be very similar to the setup that was in Piatone for the first round, where
okay,
you had a main field and then within 100 200 yards you had the secondary field with the
yeah,
concessions. Now we have full concessions there in Mantino. We have a big concession stand with indoor bathrooms. We have a playground for the kids. There's all kinds of stuff. The one thing is parking in Mantino. When you pull in, and I'll have a map that'll be posted on the I8 Facebook page. The far southeast corner is going to be for handicap parking only. You're going to be able to park along both sides of that street, and then we also have a big parking lot to the north. I'm sure there's going to be more cars. The one thing that I have to stress is there is a mobile home park right on the east side of Maple Street. You can't park in there. They'll
oh
take
yeah,
it. You can't park in there. So if anybody needs a ride or there's elderly people, so on and so forth, we're going to have golf carts running back and forth. Just let somebody from your organization know. I'm going to have the high school kids that used to play for me. They're going to be running golf carts back and forth to make sure we try and make it easy on everybody. One thing is there is no dogs allowed unless they're service dogs. And the other thing too is I want to limit the amount of um, air horns or train horns or cow balls are fine, but the wall powered, battery powered air horns or train horns. I get it. I understand the principle, but it's just a little too much. At high school games, you can't blow that stuff off. I mean, what I see is a lot of the younger kids get distracted by that. I mean, I get they're scoring a touchdown, but then you got kids in the huddle, they're distracted. So that stuff. But I mean, other than that, it's going to be a great weekend. I'm excited. I'm
yeah.
really really excited.
I think it's probably the best weekend of the year. Obviously, besides the Super Bowl, this is probably the funnest weekend of the year for me. I mean, I love going out and checking out all the teams, and yeah, this is really cool because it's all one day too, and it's right there, so you get to go check out all the games at once. I really like that setup. It's not really a 2-day thing. So, and in the cheer competition, obviously for me, I can literally walk to the cheer competition. So, definitely be man, getting a message out to our kids to get up, the football players to get up there because I see those cheerleaders. I mean, they're out there every day. They were practicing football, practicing cheerleading, and my daughter was a cheerleader for the Bobcats, so she was going to cheerleading every single day. So,
Did you wear all your Reed Custer stuff when you went over to Bobcat Field over there?
yeah, it was a weird feeling because I was Bobcat too my whole life. So
Yeah, I
I
remember
get
that. Yeah,
sometimes I
yeah,
was watching with Coach with Joey Rivera at the game
yeah,
on Saturday. I'm sitting there, I had mixed feelings. I see the
yeah,
Bobcats running the double wing, and I'm like, should I
yeah,
root for
yeah, yeah.
them?
Yeah, it's funny though. I mean, it's funny. I mean, I didn't grow up around here. I grew up north. I played for Sam. I mean, went to Carl Sandburg High School. So, I mean, I
Mhm.
wasn't. It was still a small town, not small town, but not as small as these towns. So, I
Yeah,
mean, being here for the last 20 years and being involved in the football for the last 14, 15 years is an awesome experience. And there's a lot of times where it's tough for me because I got to stand kind of in the middle of the field because yes, I'm rooting for Mantino 100%, but I also have a lot of friends and buddies that are on the other squad, other teams, and it's I'm kind of sitting in the middle of the goalposts. They're kind of one side or the other side, but I mean, definitely I support Mantino 100% because of 90% of those kids that have coached, go to that high school, but I've also been down to I got kids at Providence, I got kids at St. Rita, we got kids at Carmel. We got kids at Bishop Mack. I mean, we got kids at a lot of the Catholic schools too, and they excel there,
Right.
and it's awesome to see that. I mean, St. Rita's team a couple of years ago, that state champion, that back to back, that team that went to state, there was 7 or 8 kids, probably 10 kids that were from the area, that were on that team on a state, going to the state 2 years in a row. So, but
Yeah,
it's awesome to see too, though, is like Wilmington's team right now. I mean, I know a lot of those kids, a lot of those parents on a personal level. And, I mean, with Wilmington, you know what you're going to get. You know that you're going to be running a double wing, and you know that they're going to pound it down your throat. It's going to be a long game when you come to play Wilmington. Be ready. Just like last year with Reed Custer, you knew that, hey, we're going to throw the ball and we're going to air it out, and you better be ready. Cole City. I mean, Cole City is as good as I do. I mean, you get hard fought games with that. Every game in the I8, and what's awesome about seeing that in the high school level is that the kids understand it. And what's great with the youth programs and with the high school programs is a lot of them have gotten together very heavy the last, say, 8-10 years, and they've gotten involved. The high school coaches have gotten involved with the youth program, and they've realized, wow, maybe this is something that we should get involved in, because I could get a kid at a lightweight level, and I could start throwing in a couple plays that we do on the high school level. So when that kid gets up to freshman year, you're not throwing him all new information. I mean, that's what was our biggest success when I went to high school, is because the youth programs, they ran what the high school ran. So you knew what a belly play was, and you knew what this play was. So it wasn't like your freshman year, you're going through all these kids and trying to teach them all this stuff, because they know what you're doing. And that's why I think a lot of the success for the high school programs is because of these kids have been so used to this throughout their years at the youth level. And it's huge. It's huge.
I think you're absolutely right. I think I know that we do that. I think Wilmington obviously has done that for years and years. I think I was in seventh grade when they put the double wing in. So that's like 30 years they were running the same system.
Yeah, but I mean,
So
if you look at it right now, Hersher High School, Mike Mosier, good friend of mine.
yeah,
Mike
there you go.
ran the youth Hersher youth program for years.
Yeah.
He ran it for years. You know what I mean? And now he's the head high school coach at Hersher.
Yep.
At Cole City, they run the same stuff that they're running at the youth level.
Absolutely.
Morris Warriors. You look at the Redskin field, you look at that team that's what, 7-1 in 6A. I'll give you that roster, and I'll tell you that with the Morris Warriors and the Chiefs, that's the whole town. I mean, Morris is loving it right now because they have 2 feeder programs into their high school.
Oh yeah.
I mean, it's awesome. I mean, and then you look at Chinook, Plano, Sandwich. I mean, Sandwich didn't have a varsity team there for a couple of years. All those kids now, as sophomore and juniors, those were all kids that played with the Indians when we were playing. So that high school realizes, and it's great to see that the high school realizes that the youth program and the way that we run the league and everything else it's a good situation.
Yeah,
Good
well,
situation.
I know our high school coaches were out this weekend, so it's great to see that. It is great to see the high schools out there supporting and realizing, that the youth programs can be a big benefit for them as a feeder program. I think almost every team does that, really feeds into their high school. It's really, really important for the high schools now. It's definitely something that's been over the last 5 or 10 years, gotten even more and more
Well, I mean,
prominent.
I'll tell you right now that, I mean, like, you walk the sidelines, that you have high school coaches from the public high school coaches. You got coaches from all over, from Catholic schools, everything. You know why? Because they know that the public schools, they know what they're getting out of a kid. And the Catholic schools, they know that when they come down here and they recruit kids, or they want them to come up to those schools, not that a lot of them go there, but they also know that they're going to get a kid that's coachable. They're going to get a kid that's respectful. They're going to get a kid that knows how to play tough, hard-nosed football because of the way that our league is designed. And that's what it's all about. And at Reed Custer, you saw it last 2 years. I mean, those kids, I could have told you, and I said this before to you, Dan, as I said, when those kids were in lightweight division with Shane Fitzpatrick and Chris Bruziak and those guys, that I told those guys, we battled Mantino, and those guys battled every year, and it was every year for the Super Bowl. And that group of kids came together, and they did outstanding job. I mean, Wilmington, you know what I mean? Look at their board on the side of the school with the state championships. That
Uh-huh.
team that's the sophomore class right now, those kids didn't lose a game in 8 years at the youth level.
Nope.
I mean, just imagine they're licking their chops right now. And then the group of juniors and seniors, those kids lost a couple games. I mean, and what did they run? The same thing at the high school range. So if you go out there now, you'll see exactly what they're doing. And it's funny because a lot of those kids are in the same positions they were at the youth level.
Yep.
I mean, my good buddy's Jeff Allgood. Joey Allgood's a guard. He's a linebacker. I mean, Joey Allgood's been a guard and a linebacker for the last 10 years. I mean, only difference is Joey Allgood's 6'2", 230 pounds right now. And
Yeah.
he's not, you know, 4'9", 85 pounds that he was and that's how I remember Joey Allgood. I mean, just like the kids in my high school. I mean, the kids that I coach. I mean, it's crazy to see the development of them, not only as football players but as people. And that's what my biggest thing is the people, the respect. I mean, like you go to Reed Custer game, I could go to a Wilmington game, I could go to any game and hey, Coach Big Dirty, how's everything going? Hey, yeah, I've been following you. Wow, you're a man. I mean, some of those kids. I mean, I'm 6'3", I'm a big dude, but you look at some of those kids and they're over the top of me, and I'm like, wait, hang on, what happened here? I mean, I remember you as a little guy that I could rest my elbow on your helmet, and
Yeah. Yeah.
so and it's cool, it's awesome.
I just had a quarterback actually, Josh Loomis. I put a picture of him on my Facebook because I found it popped up in my memories, but he just got married last week. He
Mhm.
was a junior comic for us. So yeah, I totally. It's just a great feeling when you see these kids. Makes you feel a little old, but
Oh, it makes you feel old, but I mean, like, look at the example for Reed Custer, Brandon Mormon. He was on that team last year. He's helped coaching. I mean,
yep.
the guys at Wilmington, a lot of those coaches played at Wilmington High School. That's awesome because you know why? What I think is great about that is that they they still remember the times that they had at youth football,
Oh yeah.
at the youth football league. And I got kids that are grown adults. I mean, like I said, that example. He still remembers when we won a Super Bowl in 2012. Like he looked at me, he's like, "Hey, Coach Big Dirty, remember what?" I'm like, "Yeah, I guess so." What I mean, like, yeah, I remember. But I remember small things about it. But I mean, that stuck with him for his whole entire life, and
Oh,
that's awesome. I mean, I can't tell you anything else, any other sport that would be able to do that. That the coaches and the programs themselves have that type of impact on adults' lives and kids' lives. That's what's huge. I mean, even with the cheerleaders, I mean, it's the same thing. They still talk about the Wildcats or the Comets or the Bobcats or the Braves or the Reapers. They still talk about that, and that's what's awesome. I mean, that's what we've built here is something to be reckoned with on the football field, but also to put a little pat on the back to all the people that are involved. Because if it wasn't for the volunteers and the coaches and the team moms and the parents from bringing their kids back and forth all the times and the practices and all that stuff, we wouldn't have what we have. And I mean, a big shout out goes out to those guys. I mean, I have more respect for coaches and team moms and athletic directors and people that stand on the boards for this because the parents sometimes don't realize the amount of time and hours and energy and effort that people put into it. And it isn't something that is easy to do. I mean, it's not to try and put 14 teams to play an 8-game schedule. It takes me weeks, and it helps. I have good people behind me that help out, and I mean, everybody's willing to lend a hand, but it takes a lot to get the officials and all the other stuff. And that's where, like I said in the beginning, instead of scrutinizing or criticizing someone, give them a pat on the back and say, "Hey, thanks." You might not like the guy, you might not like the way he coaches, but at the end of the day, hey, simple, hey, thank you, I appreciate that. It goes a long way, you know, and that's why we do it. We do it for the kids. So, I mean, who do you think? What do you think, Dan? You got to give me some kind of preview here. What's your prediction here? What are we going to see the junior Comets in the Super Bowl?
I think Coach Jake Bellato's got him playing pretty good. I think that Reed Custer will be playing in the Super Bowl in Sandwich, but I think it's going to be real close. I think maybe a 13-14 game like we had in the lightweights with Wilmington last week. I think something like that, maybe a conversion or something like that
Yeah,
could
yeah,
decide it. I mean,
yeah.
it was a muddy. I mean, I was actually, I got to give the Chiefs field that props. I was really worried on Friday night at the high school game about how bad the field might be, but it was very playable.
Yeah, no, it was. They had it definitely, and I think that I mean that even on Sunday games like that, is just the amount of rain that it took. You know, I mean, what do we have? 4.5, 5 inches of rain in 3 days. I
Yeah.
mean, you can't predict that stuff. I mean, I go back to it as I was standing on at the turf field on Sunday. We played in the Super Bowl there 2 years ago. We had to postpone the Saturday games to Sunday because it was like 31 and rainy and snowy on Saturday. We moved it to Sunday. It was 70 degrees. We were in shorts, like
Yeah.
crazy. Like, and just the difference of days this past weekend. Saturday was gloomy and all that other stuff, and Sunday the sun came out. It felt good on Sunday, you know.
Yeah.
And I'm hoping that this week our fields look good. Yeah, they're a little wet. I mean, there's nothing we can do about it. Hopefully they dry out here a little bit. The rain kind of holds off a little bit, but you know, I mean, it's supposed to be a good day on Saturday, and then you know, next Saturday it's supposed to hopefully warm back up, and it'll be good fall weather for football. I mean, there's nothing better than playing in. You know, the kids love playing in the mud. You know, I mean, I don't know if the coaches or myself like walking around in it all day long, but it is what it is. You know, so they don't call me Big Dirty for nothing, I guess. So yeah, but I mean, I mean, you know, you remember Danny still that Reed Custer High School game
I owe
that
you a
didn't go
dinner.
the way you wanted it to go. So
I owe you a dinner. It's
yeah,
21.
yeah. So yeah.
It was actually a junior.
Listen, we can hold off on the dinner because I'm going to tell you something. That game was a hard fought battle, and
Yes, it was.
I mean that went down to the last play, last 6 or 7 seconds of that game. That could have went either way, you know. And
Yeah. First
that's
thing I thought of was, oh boy.
yeah. And I like to eat, so and everyone can tell you. My wife will tell you I like to eat. So
I'm gonna put some money aside. But all
yeah,
right, man. I appreciate you coming out. Varsity, I mean, all these brackets, I can just go up and down the brackets are good. But I tell you what, that Mantino Bradley game on the east side too, and then the Ottawa Schnuck game, that's gonna be like you said, some IHSA style football right there. I mean,
that's going to be the future. Like I said, is you're going to see those kids that are on that team. You're going to be seeing those kids excel at the high school level in the next 2 years. I mean, maybe
those
not
teams
as freshmen, but as sophomores, you're going to see a lot of those kids playing on varsity teams.
definitely those teams are really, really good football teams. All right,
Yeah,
Michael, thanks for
appreciate
coming
it.
on, buddy. And
All right,
maybe we'll get
sounds
you
good, Dan.
soon. All right,
All right,
man.
have a good evening. Thank you.
Have a good one.